live, Pierre.
Welcome back to another early edition of the Hockey Nation Live Show with your co-host, Coach Francis, directly for the Sunshine State. And we have to go all the way to the West Coast to find co-host Michael DiVillano.
Good morning, Pierre. There's news, but not all of it's great news.
Yeah, it's after 20th Pusto, right? A couple of weeks ago. I think it's another legend of for me, right? As on my age, I grew up with that kind of players, right?
Yeah.
Little bit, Rod Gilbert show up at early 60s, but when you talk about, I follow really, really when I was young, the hockey, and he was on his prime as a hockey player for the New York Rangers, and passed away at 80 years old Sunday night, late Sunday night, and 20th Esposito. It's another great. Talk about the greatest in hockey. That's someone on his own style, and every team, the 6 original team, have their own kind of icon inside, and he's the Mr. Rangers, like Jean Béliveau or Maurice Richard or Johnny Bauer, and Gordy, or you can go that kind of players. That's why it was impressive, Michael. I just make a video like 1 hour ago on the YouTube channel. He's never been drafted, right? So he was undrafted. Honestly, that year, you know what I mean? So he was a young 18 years old, and then he played junior for a couple of years. He played junior B, then he destroyed the junior A. Yeah. And then he came to the New York Rangers and never reached the 100 season point, 97 2 times. The highest score is 43 for one season. But again, like I mentioned, he was the Mr. Rangers, first one to get the retired jersey in the New York Rangers history, and he was introduced in the Hall of Fame in 1983, 84, or 82, something like that. Never win the Stanley Cup. Another one like Marcel Dion, Michael. So overall, you talk about legend, talk about greatness, talk about players make a difference inside an organization. Work over 32 years, Michael, inside that organization. Everywhere he will go, he was always classified as a Mr. Classy with dedication and great human being. He won only 1 trophy during his career, 18 years, Michael. The Bill Mastodon Memorial trophies that show you exactly what kind of personality he was, off ice, on ice. But again, everybody have a story. I watch a lot of, read a lot of Twitter and social media. Everybody have a story with Rod Gilbert. So for me, that's what he can, show what kind of person, the players he was. And as a Montreal Canadian, every time we play against the Rangers, he was always watching Rod Gilbert with Jean Rattel and Vic Hadfield. For many years, they destroy. He was the number 1 best line for them, and make that team better and better.
Look at this guy's numbers, Pierre.
Yep.
Even a lot of times you see players drop off in this era after like 8-10 years, but he didn't lose a beat. Like he actually maybe ticked up a little bit.
It's another player, Michael, pick it up after 30 years old. Yeah. Like not rare, it's rare, right? But him, he can go that way at 35. He was still performing. You can see his performance as it. Like he really changed really at 71, 72, and then for back to back all the way. He's always almost like 1 point plus per season.
And it looks like it's interesting. 2 interesting things that I didn't realize. One, when he was in the Ontario Hockey, like the OHA, the Ontario Hockey Association, which is probably technically now the OHL.
Yeah, it was the proud that one over there. That's what it was. The OHL it was called for golf.
He broke his vertebrae and was paralyzed. Yeah. Like, so this all could have ended. And like, I don't really, it's 1960, right? Or whatever. So you don't go, oh, let's look at the great technology and surgical techniques in 1960. Like, that this would have been a big deal then. And so it's kind of interesting that he was able to go on to have a crazy career. And then you look at what ended his career. It wasn't that he couldn't play. He got into a contract dispute. And I didn't realize John Ferguson was the GM for the Rangers then. So he was like, forget it. Keep going. And he also played in the 72 series. So that was like monumental to.
Yeah, he played a 72 and 76 with a Team Canada. So another milestone on his resume at the end of the day.
Yeah, very sad. Oh, he has a website. I wonder what's on that website. Nope, not found.
So we'll welcome everybody. Ryan Lumber for the Florida Panthers, part of the show this morning. Johnny Golden directly from New Brunswick, St. John Moncton. Also, Michael Rosenblatt right now is behind the class and deep with his headphone to listening us. Welcome, Michael. Chen Summons directly from Montreal. Welcome back, buddy. And Brett Marchand, son, directly from Boulder, Colorado. Welcome back. And from the Elizabeth, New Jersey, the #1 New Jersey Devils, Joseph Ferreira. Welcome, everybody.
Yeah. So another sad story, unfortunately. There's this accident in Surrey, BC. It's interesting. It's like very early in the morning, 2:45 a.m. One of the players is Caleb Reimer. Caleb was an 18th overall draft pick in the WHL, played for the Edmonton Oil Kings. We know the Edmonton Oil Kings are probably the top WHL team, maybe, I guess, or top 2 or 3. They have Kosa and they've got Dylan Gunther, and he only got to play his rookie year with them, and so this is very sad. And then the other two young men are Ronan Sharma and Parker Magnuson, and they all play before at Delta Hockey Academy in the CSSHL. So it's kind of a sad story. I mean, it really is kind of interesting because normally there's like limitations in a lot of places on what time a player can, or not a player, a person under 18 can drive. And this was very early in the morning. It was like 2:40 in the morning. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this. Terrible story for the family and the teammates of all these players. And I think we're all kind of shocked about that this has happened. It's just shows you, like, as much as, you know, these guys are great, promising people because you see their potential as hockey players, but then when something like this happens, like, nobody's immortal and nobody's impervious to tragedy. So this is a really sad thing for me. I think it's really unfortunate this happened, and I think, you know, we've seen other accidents. We saw the accident with the Columbus Blue Jackets goalie earlier this year, and we've seen other car accidents in the past, like especially in the WHL, where we've got some crazy history with bus tragedies in Humboldt, even with the junior leagues. So it's really concerning when you see this. Our hearts go out to the families and all the teammates of these players.
Yep. It is.
Be careful out there, kids. Like, driving's no joke. If you're thinking of going out partying in the middle of the morning, don't do that. You're better to be at home. All right, Pierre. There was actually one other story that we didn't talk on last week, which is a contract signing. And I'm just going to switch to that for 1 second. We were talking about it before we came on, and it was the signing in Philadelphia of Travis Sanheim. I like Travis Sanheim. He's an ex-WHL player for the Calgary Hitmen. I think he's a good two-way defenseman. He's had seasons where he had 9 and 8 goals already. So he's played, you forget how much he's played. He's played 255 games. So we don't get to see him a lot because he's in Philly and maybe he's an afterthought. I think he's a really good number kind of 3 type defenseman. He's 6'3". He skates real well. You can put him on the second power play unit. I think all Philadelphia defensemen kind of struggled a little bit last year. I'm really curious. Like, they brought in Ryan Ellis. They brought in Ristolainen. They brought in Keith Yandel. And I'm trying to think of how this affects a Travis Sanheim. But then Travis Sanheim gets a 2-year contract at $4.6 a year. Were you surprised at the cap hit amount?
Not really. Last season he was a defenseman, the second best defenseman over there. So he was become number 2 over there. I think he's underrated players. If you really watch the Flyers, and of course they have a bad year, right? But he didn't have a bad year. Honestly, and if you think about this, until last season he have a 8 years, 8 goal and 9 goal, and his really beginning of his season. And, you know, he's really at his prime, like the defenseman, Michael, really the good one, pick it up more at 24, 25, 26. So for me, it's a bridge contract for only 2 years, will become a UFA. Now we know Ristolainen is going to show up, Rand Ellis. So for me, he's become the number 3 in the lineup. If you think about this, he's going to be the number 1 on PK, because that's really where he make his name. And for the Flyers department about the special team. So he get that kind of the minute every time. That. So for me, is it a little bit high? Yes. But at the same time, you have other, you know, when you evaluate or a contract, you have to say, okay, he's a RFA. He's going to be a UFA. He's not signed for long term. So because you sign, usually it's a short term, Michael, you increase the dollars or the money at the end of the contract. So honestly, it should be about $4 million. If you evaluate all money you put on defense role inside your team at the defense position, $4 million will be the same. That would be a good amount. Now they give him maybe for the pass, everything like that. So he got a little bit more what my expectation was. But at the same time, I think this kid is really more underrated, and I think
I agree.
Ristolainen is going to be over him. Michael is going to be number 3, and he's still young. So sometimes he will pick up a couple of minutes around Ellis at some point. He was at the top pair defenseman with them. So a little bit, but not
it's
much.
Not crazy.
And he's going to get more money with it. He's going to be a UFA, Michael. I will believe he can get $5 million and many teams in NHL.
And I try to put it in that context. Like, you forget he's got some history. He's played for 4 years. He only played 1 year in the AHL. He was a great WHL player. He's big, he can skate, he's pretty reliable.
Michael, the more you talk about this, the name come quickly to me with 8, 9 goals, everything like that. It's Alec Martinez.
Yeah, I mean, he's much younger, you know, like he's
exactly.
And
you know, second pair of defensemen. The second pair of defensemen, Michael, they are about $3.5 million to 4.5 usually. It depends what you bring on your special team and that. So at 4.6, I think is the number 3. It's not bad at all. Some team like Montreal have a 3.5 contract usually, but I think like it's a one can, for me, compared to Alec Martinez, a younger age and also with same quality and same play time like Martinez, he got 5.4. You have to say 4.6, not too bad.
Yeah. Overall, they're in pretty good shape. Like, they got Ristolainen only at 1 more year at 5.4. I can see him getting in the 7s depending on what his season's like. So then you end up with, you know, you only have Braun 1 more year and Keith Yandel 1 more year. They've traded away their young defenseman, who they've traded away Hag. And they traded away, what was the other defenseman they traded away?
Philip
Myers, right? Now, Myers struggled last year, but I think overall, long-term, he's got a good potential. But I guess they weren't willing to wait. They wanted to turn this around. So overall, it's not bad. They do have a lot of money tied up in.
But also, Michael, they have the young rookie Cam York over there.
And they have young Cam York coming.
So I think for me, like, you know, you think about Yandel and Justin Brown at some point. I think Cam York is going to step up and then inside that lineup very quickly on my book.
True. That is very true.
So I think they are really the one, is really the biggest one over there. It's a team, Michael, I'm curious to see this year. It's you know, everybody have a bad year. I want to see how they're going to come back and to see how they can play. I can wait to see Terry Forster and Morgan Frost for them. That's the 2 players maybe step up. Maybe I'll have a chance to trade at that moment, Michael. I think they can trade Travis Konechny at some point during the year if they have to.
You know, it's weird because like last year was a little rough for everybody in that team, and I really am curious why. Because Konechny looked like at some point he was going to be there. He looks like he was.
If you follow him, Michael, the year the COVID situation, he have a great year. But when he came back to the COVID from the bubble, he never come back the same the player he was before.
Yeah. So I think this will be a blip. Like my again, this guy's played 350 NHL games, you forget. And he had 61 points in 66 games. He really looked like he was going to be their star. It was like, whoa, because like Pierre, this guy was a first overall draft pick in the OHL. He was a top player at every age group. He's not a big kid, but he's very talented. And he had, a great OHL career. So it was like, wow, he's continuing right where he left off in junior. He never really played in the AHL.
No,
like he went right to the NHL. So I think he'll bounce back from this. If a bad,
I wouldn't be surprised. It's a team right now. We have to see how. That's my point. Like, what Carter Hart is going to do, right? What Konechny is going to do. So they have a couple of players. Morgan Frost coming up over there. So it's a team really. I'm interested to see what is it. But if you want to trade sometime a change of the location or the place to relance you bring back, it could be good for two players on different team. Every time that it could happen for them at some point, you have a chance to trade him, Konechny, again, another young players. Nothing come in my head right now, but that's my point here.
I think Joel Farabee showed last year, like, man, this guy's super talented and he's ready to do some damage.
And also, Michael, because I'm sorry to cut you, but now without Voracek, that was showed to Konechny. Now you have an opportunity to step up and to be a part of that line over there. Now I just see his name now. So wow, that's right. The problem I think for me for Flyers is the bottom six. We did not look at their team yet, but their bottom six have to be. So on that list, Michael is missing at least Morgan Frost. I believe he's going to be jumping inside that third line, fourth line. And I think you have to look about Terry Foster. I think Terry Foster is really close to make the NHL.
The biggest problem with Tyson Foerster is his skating.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the big thing, because he's got all the character. He can shoot the puck, but can he play that tempo? I'm not sure. We'll find out. That's going to be the only thing that'll hold him back. I got to think he will, because he was he was very good for Barrie in the OHL. Like, I don't know.
I'm not sure he would, but it's the one next they have to look about him for sure about that one. We welcome Mr. Frank Cigar Zalazar in the house. He's a happy hour guy, Michael, with a cigar, and he enjoyed the Florida, South Florida, Frankie. Big fan of the Panthers, so we love to have him. I watch him a lot on Twitter, and good to see him.
It'd be interesting to see what Zayd Wisdom does too, because Zayd Wisdom, he had a great year, but he was Shane Wright's line mate. So, but I thought he made a good adjustment to the AHL. Like, he actually did all right. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on.
It's really, Michael, more we talk like this is for me. It's like, okay, everybody look like they take a year off, right? We just want to be sure they can play 50, 60, 70 games. That's really to give us a better indication who they are, what they do, right? Oh my God, I saw this weekend watching Wallander, is it Weston?
Oh, William Wallander, for Detroit.
OMG, he's a monster.
He's good, right? I told you he's a monster. He's big. He can skate. Like, he can do.
He ripped the shot this weekend, and I said, wow. But after that, he was like, when he raised the shot, he bent his knee, right? Yeah. And then he came up. He's like 6.
He's huge.
He's huge, the guy. He's number 54 right now, and they played on the weekend, and that's OMG. He is huge, this guy.
Well, I don't know if you remember when we were at the draft, I'm like, God, I hope Detroit drafts this guy.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, they drafted him. Because
it's a guy we don't talk when we talk about Detroit.
I agree. He's going to come up, and people are like, where did you get this guy? He's listed at 6'4". I think he's bigger than that. He's
going to be bigger, I think so too.
I think he's bigger. And
I was impressed by him. But in my point, like, we don't talk about him because he's behind Zedar and older defensemen. They got Detroit, they have, but it's another one I think is on the flip side where the fans Detroit were going to like him a lot, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, they're gonna run into the situation. Like, you can see they have 3 UFA defensemen. And I'm not saying they're all going to be replaced. But you got to think maybe they keep Nick Leddy. Maybe they keep Stetcher, right? And if they don't, you're like, look, Ronick's the top guy, Seider's coming in. But then to your point, you've got all these other guys, right? You've got Albert Johansson, who looks like, whoa, this guy can play. If Jared McIsaac gets back on track from injuries, you got another guy. Then you got Wallander. And then you got Edmondson. And then you've got
you don't tell you the defensemen they just draft in the draft on the this year.
Right.
Bouillon is under one over there, right? So they have like some player we have to pick. No, they are on the right direction over there.
Like Shy,
Edmondson over there,
6'4", right? And but he's more offensive. I don't know if he's a mean defenseman, but he can.
You're going to like him. The kids can play hockey. I watch him a lot. But he's really good hockey player, by the way. Oh, Carey Price in the house this morning, Michael.
Yeah, so Shine is guys that was at Shattuck St. Mary's, Pierre.
Yeah.
His brother Zeev is a little bit smaller, but not much. He's growing up a little bit. Zeev, we were scouting last year for the 05 draft, and he got drafted into the WHL. Really nice family, but they're from San Diego, Pierre, and they played in the LA area. So and they're from Israel. And this kid is like, man, he can really skate. He's really an excellent player. I don't know about this guy. I keep hearing about some Sobrano too. I haven't watched him play though. So it's going to be interesting. Between Wallander, Edmondson, Bouillon, and Seider, there's an interesting future there. And this is the guy that's like super underrated, Johansson. And if they can ever get McIsaac back on track just from injuries.
No, we don't talk about Berggren here.
Well, Jonathan Berggren is the potential to be like, could this guy be a Henrik Zetterberg / Pavel Datsyuk? Absolutely.
I think he can become a top in the at least defense 5 and 6 in the NHL.
Oh no, he's a centerman.
As a forward, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I think he'd be a top 6.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, he's very, very skilled. And this is another guy where I think he had injury problems coming into his draft year, and he was a little bit slight. But man, he's so talented. Like this is the guy you cross your fingers and go, let's hope this is the next Zetterberg.
Will be interesting to watching. That's why he's looking good for sure. By the way, I did Michael the flashback weekend was Bob Gainey this weekend. So
cool.
I invite everybody to watching Bob Gainey. Great great hockey player, everything like that. They have never passed 50 points in NHL. Won 4 times the Frank Selke, 5 times the Stanley Cup. But also he did very well as a general manager with the Minnesota in Dallas. Struggled a bit with the Montreal Canadiens, honestly. But overall, he did pretty good, and he won the Stanley Cup also as the head coach, general manager with the Dallas Stars in 1999, where Guy Carbonneau was over there. As a player, and Benoit Brunet, another ex-Montreal Canadien, where he's really close with Carbonneau and Chris Nyland. And you talked earlier about the young kids, everything like that, and he lost his wife during a battle of cancer, and then he lost his daughter on the trip on the water and the ocean, everything like that. So he really struggled in 2004, 5, 6, 7, and even been, he struggled as a manager after that, and he got fired in 2010 by the Montreal Canadiens, but just, with adversity challenge, he go through, and he have an amazing, great run, and has a, staff or head coach or manager or hockey player.
Yeah, that's a great story about him. His leadership was legendary, and I think he set a tradition of these great defensive forwards that have continued with Guy Carbonneau, now even Philip Dano, like kind of fit in that mold, right? Like where the team had because of
after him, honestly, if you remember, I think Fedorov, he was the one really, with more offensive, but the one was the 2 ways, and then Bergeron really step up the Selke, honestly, like Lindstrom step up with the Norris Trophy, right? But the way you see the Selke, little bit difference now. At the time, it was more like Gainey and Nickstrom. I think that's the one we don't talk a lot about. Nickstrom for the New York Islanders, where he were put a title player like him, like Gainey at some point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think even you could draw a line to Bergeron even.
Yeah, he's just Bergeron, you know what I mean, like 30 goals, 60, 70 point, and
absolutely.
you know what I mean, the other ways over there. So
all right, Pierre. So we've been rating NHL GMs, and today we're going to take a look at the St. Louis Blues. We're going to look at it in a couple, I don't know, I think there's kind of there's like 3 different periods for this guy. There's before the Stanley Cup, there's after the Stanley Cup, and then there's this offseason. And actually, maybe even last year. I think it goes back to last year. So I think before this team won the Stanley Cup, you maybe wouldn't have been that excited about what Doug Armstrong was doing. He did make one big acquisition, though, that year, which was the Ryan O'Reilly trade. And I think that kind of fell in his lap a little bit. And again, this goes back to Buffalo, where, they didn't get the guys they gave up for Ryan O'Reilly didn't really pan out that well for them. Tage Thompson looks like he might, but overall, maybe didn't get the most. And then they get a first-round pick, right, which ends up being Ryan Johnson. So maybe it works out. But this was a big deal for them. Otherwise, a lot of the parts came over time. So we know they won the Stanley Cup, which was a little bit of a shock to people and was kind of a strange scenario where they were like last in the NHL. The word was that I heard through Fabry's family, because we had friends that coached him through Mississauga days, and was that Alex Pietrangelo told everybody, that's it, we're done. We're not playing for this coach. And that was Mike Yeo. And they were in the tank. They went 9-game losing streak. And then next thing you know, they replaced the coach. They put Craig Berube in. They go to the Stanley Cup, and it shocked everybody. It was the emergence of Jordan Bennington. So I think that was a bit of a shock because they had Bennington buried here for a long time.
yeah,
it didn't look like he was going to be, hey, this is the heir apparent. Although, if you know Jordan Bennington, this is a guy that always stole games, Pierre. When I tried to get him in junior, but he went right to the OHL. He's like always been that goalie. And sometimes we forget about this, but I was always watching this kid, and it's like, oh man, he's so good. And he ended up going to the OHL, and he did a bang-up job in the OHL. So this was kind of weird. Like, it fell in their lap. He kind of came out of nowhere. They were always like struggling with Jake Allen, who never really was able to take on that mantle of number 1 goalie. While he was in St. Louis, he always kind of struggled, although he played a lot of games. But they were never able to get over that hump. And then they had this lightning situation strike, no pun intended. Really, this was about Ryan O'Reilly, who was very happy to get out of Buffalo, like a lot of other people. Alex Pietrangelo, who was on a mission and led them. And then, you don't look at this team and say, yeah, this is a Stanley Cup winning team, but that's what they did. So I don't know. You got to give him some credit because not many GMs win a Stanley Cup, Pierre. So from that point of view, you got to give him a little bit of credit. Since then, it's kind of weird because, he moved on from Robbie Fabry. Fabry had a lot of injury problems. He didn't really get anything for this. He got Jacob Delarose. So when you start looking at his transactions, the other weird one for me is the guy that really led them to a Stanley Cup is Alex Pietrangelo. And you don't re-sign Pietrangelo. Instead, you sign Justin Falk and Torrey Krug. So to me, that was a little bit weird, Pierre. I don't know about what you thought, but.
Well, it was about the reason he did not sign Pietrangelo is because the salary cap problem he got faced, and the reason he got cheaper to get Tony Krug versus because the Justin Falk, he was already there before the Pietrangelo UFA, so he couldn't do anything about that one over there. I think he make a mistake over there. Right. I think it's rare when you don't resign your captain. Honestly, you have something we don't know inside of that team, where it could be Pietrangelo inside the team or with something, or you have something because usually, like Colorado, Lestergaard did not go nowhere, right? Usually the captains return with the team. So you have a story where I have no clue, honestly, but you nail it. The job Armstrong, Michael, you said, is really the trait of the Ryan O'Reilly. Change what Armstrong did with the team, honestly, because before that, the team was no go nowhere. And the reason he won the Stanley Cup is the welcome O'Reilly. They let go Stashny on that year, and then he rebuilt like a couple of players around him. But the welcome and the I think also Tarasenko stepped up during that year,
Right.
and then they welcome back David Perreault again. And that team that year they trade also the same time they got O'Reilly, Michael. He got also Tyler Bozak from Toronto.
Yeah, and that worked out pretty well for them. Like,
yeah, that's that. You know what I mean? So he make a couple of trade at that moment, but after that, I believe sometimes the salary cap make problem to sign everybody every time that. But for me, you have something when you don't resign your captain, and I don't know. I have no clue. I don't know what, but I usually have something there now. They are on the Jack Eichel drama Tarasenko. Honestly, is the team struggle a little bit for the last 2 years, and if this come a little bit, Michael, it's not only Jordan Bennington problem, right? It's a off season. A couple of players go down like Tarasenko and everything like that, and then they have to rebuild their structure of the defensive side now. And they welcome Tony Crook, but again, that side they don't have a big guy anymore. Odile Pinico is really there. You may be talking about this, but they lost Joel Edmondson. It's not a big piece, but he's a big guy. Gunnarsson is not there anymore. Did not play for the last year and a half. And now he retired. It's another big guy. So they was really big at the defenseman, now they are now Scandella and everything like that. So it's not the same kind of team they was before. I don't know the philosophy of Birube and Armstrong works the way now and what it was before. So it's a team really. It's going to be in the middle of the pack. I don't see them to get better.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Right now, they welcome a couple of players this year. Brendan Zad is another one. Buchnevich is another one over there. I love Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou. I think it's two great players over there. They have to see them there. I think Songvis is going to be another one. Could be part of the team for sure. About that, the defense is where I believe a little bit struggle. The defense where I'm not sure. I'm always worried about Justin Falk. When you're number one, number two, right? And that's you can see on that list. It's not strong.
No, I don't like this at all, Pierre. Like I think I like Parayko, and I know that Alex Pietrangelo said that's your next captain, that's your next number 1D, but his skating is not elite. He is not Alex Pietrangelo. Alex Pietrangelo is a top 5 or 7 defenseman in the NHL, no matter what way you cut it. And he won them a cup. And I believe that what happened with the year they won the Stanley Cup, if you know Alex, he's very commanding. He's very much like, I'm in charge. Let's get this done. And I think the thing that happened with the coach, you could draw a straight line to Alex because he was pretty vocal about it. And then when they switched, they won. And he did what he said he was going to do. But I think people have long memories. And especially in the NHL. And I suspect there was something to do with that. But if you know Alex, like if Vegas is ever going to win a cup here, it's going to be because of Alex Pietrangelo. So I never understand this. It makes no sense to me. I'm glad that, Ryan, I think Ryan's the captain now, right?
Yep.
So, that's good. However, he can't play defense for them. So it was a great move for Ryan to come over and, they grabbed a great player and a great person. But I feel like back here, you had a similar character player in Alex Pietrangelo. Both of them ex-Toronto Junior Canadiens, by the way. So I don't know. To me, I just don't see this team getting better. I don't know what they have on the horizon that's that exciting. I like
don't have nobody in defense. That's the problem they got.
Yeah, I like the Buchnevich move. I think that was a steal. And then I think Brandon Saad is a great player to add up front. And I love the fact that Jordan Kyrou is turned into the player he has. So I'm excited about these things. So I just don't know, does Jordan Kyrou have another level? Can Jordan Bennington continue to justify being a $6 million goalie? Probably. But that doesn't mean he's going to take them to the Stanley Cup. They have Jake Neighbors. They have Kostin. Klim Kostin is one of these guys where he's like 6'3". He's got all the tools, Pierre, but he's a little bit of an enigma. And you don't know if he'll stay in the KHL or what he's going to do sometimes, right? Because he doesn't speak very good English. But he's got all the potential in the world. But defense, like, this is a black hole. Like, there's nothing. Like, drafted a couple defenseman guys. Joel Hofer's a real good goalie prospect, by the way. Like, we have his brother who's a defenseman in Everett. He might be done now, though. But this is, he played for Team Canada, Portland goalie. He's got a lot of potential. He's a big goalie. But there's nothing here, Pierre.
Yep.
Like, you think you would have one or two guys. Like, I don't see any of these guys making the NHL.
Now, is rate 10 on side the prospect return that? Is the team have to step up at some point? We got to start
figure
out something about that for sure. So it would be interesting what they're going to do about that. And they don't get younger, right? O'Reilly, Tarasenko, Shan, and then
nothing there, Pierre.
And then we have so they are all 30 years old over there and plus, right?
Yep. Oh. I feel like now's the time to start thinking about how do we get a bunch of prospects in here. And when David Perron has been their leading scorer for a number of years, you're counting on Braden Shen to be an offensive producer. Those are not names that blow me away, right?
So, well, that's the time for them. That's the point. Like, it's time for them to trade Tarasenko. And I think for him, if I was them, I was looking for a good players, like at 24, 23 years old, right? But I would like to get at least 2-round pick over there, maybe a first round and maybe a 3rd round pick or something like that. So they build 3 players for him, but at least a 2 prospect for the future. I think that would be a good trade to get there. Yeah. And you don't know what happened. And Tarasenko is not young, Michael. He's 29. He's going to be 31 at the end of this contract. And now he's going to be another contract for 3-4 years, but you don't know what he's going to respond for upcoming season. And when you have already a player that does not want to be there, it's not going to score 30 goals.
Yeah, if he doesn't want to be there, that's bad. I think Buchnevich played great last year. Can he do it in an 80-game season? Probably. Like, he's always been a very...
He will play with O'Reilly or Brendan Shine or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not worried about Buchnevich for sure. As Brendan says, he's going to have a good year over there. They have a couple of good pieces over there. And then the inclusion of Giroux. Giroux is the one that we want to see. I think Robert Thomas, we don't talk enough about him. I think he's another for sure good players in the NHL for sure. And they have a couple of young players over there, like Sanford or Sundqvist. I think they could step up a little bit more. The team on the forward side is pretty good. Is on defensive side, they have to get better, stronger. And with Jordan Bennington, they are pretty good. But again, it's a team we have to watch for sure for the next couple of years. But again, interesting to see what they're going to do with Tarasenko. John Grega, welcome back from Boston, Massachusetts. Hopefully you're not in the water. Hopefully you put your umbrella out because I know you're in the storm. Tristan Grousset in French. Salut, coach. Qui tu penses va être le prochain GM pour le Canadien de Montréal? Next GM and for the Montreal Canadiens on my head. Quickly. Patrick Roy is going to be one of the suggestion for the Montreal Canadiens. Marc Bergeron is going to be president of the team. I think that will be the next move for the George Molson. That'll be number 2 over there. And then can they promote Scott Millenby? That would be surprised because he's not a French Canadian, and that's what the problem for Montreal to pick up a French Canadian. And we look about that. Can they open the door for Julien Brisebois until Brisebois? Now, I'll be honest with you.
Don't go anywhere, Julien Breeze, but you're crazy.
No, but my point is this part, and I will give you the name for this. And we are August 23rd. And coach said it. He did it again. Mathieu Darche is going to be the next GM in Montreal Canadiens.
I think Marc Bergevin's not an old guy. And he just took him to the final.
I'm going to give you 2 more names. Yeah. Martin Brodeur, Roberto Luongo.
Maybe.
But they are they are assistant.
They are, yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? So my point, like, you have to think about people are in the industry as a staff management right now, and they are French also. I tried to mention some names. So,
Yeah.
but Mathieu Darche, do not count on him out of this picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that Marc Bergevin is going to move soon?
Yes.
Really?
But he's not. He's going to. I don't see him signing. He's over for him. For him, it's time to move on to the next thing. And I think you have a good relationship. Right. Montreal Canadiens have no president hockey operation for what Ronald Carré. So I think for them it'll be a good thing to make Bergevin, and maybe and also I think, Michael, to have a Mathieu Darche or a Loengo or a brother have experience, but not like solid experience, and to have a guy like Bergevin, Scott Mellenby around, I think that would be something good for the Montreal Canadiens for the new GM over there to get there about that one there. I think that will be someone who would everybody want. I'm not sure about that, about him. Maybe have gave a chance, but what it would be good to get Patrick Roy is the intensity he's going to bring to the newspaper, and on the next morning on the press conference, he's going to bring that kind of love and the passion he has inside of him to win the game. So sometimes you have another kind of people like him can bring something good inside the organization, Montreal Canadiens.
Could you see Patrick Roy lasting 9 years like Bergevin has?
You know, the Patrick Roy 5 years would be better at Patrick Roy who is today. On the flip side, Patrick Roy grow as a mature, as a man, as a human being. He have more wisdom, he have more the capacity of controlling more his temper, everything like that. And when you're GM, Michael, you have to be on the
very reserved.
Or you have to regroup yourself. You have to not take any decision on the moment. You have to reflect a lot, and you have to take time to reevaluate everything. Now, Patrick Roy, at that moment today is better to be that way compared like 5, 6, 8 years ago, where he was not. You know what I mean? Like the reason he left the Colorado, Michael, is a boom decision happened. He did not want. He wanted to get Radulov with the team, and Joe Sakic refused, and that's start everything, and he left after that. He left in August.
Right. So that's why it's
Patrick
Roy. Oh, go do training camp with another coach.
That's Patrick Roy. So today he's not the same kind of person. That's my point.
I don't know. I think it's hard to change that, man. He's competitive, and he's
yeah. But I think he grow more, and as a person, you can see Patrick Roy today with a Quebec Rampart, Michael, is not the same Patrick Roy when his son played and the time he was GM like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So
he's not going to send.
That's what I want to bring about that one. That is a great question for Tristan Grow. And I insert back to English. I apologize. Hopefully you understand my English. Carey Price, they have different target, but Bozo go up and Toronto go down. So I don't know what kind of direction, but that's the difference between both.
You know what's weird is they've had, since that launch, Pierre, Blue Origins had 15 executives leave since he went up in spades.
Really?
Yeah, in the last few weeks, it's I think 17. They said
they left.
They left. They went to either SpaceX, Tesla, and there was one other company.
Because of what?
Part of it, I think, is they didn't get this NASA contract for the lunar lander. I think that's part of it, and that's what these guys want to work on. It's a small community, but I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's like, there's your shot. See ya.
That's impressive for sure about that one over there.
Crazy.
But so for Armstrong, I would give him a C. I'm evaluate him right now, and not like what he did in the past. Return that a C+ will be the good one for me. I think he struggled for the last 2 years and never bring that team back of what they were. And I think Prodingelo is a one mistake over there. The trade he got, this contract about Justin, or the trade for Justin Falk pay him hard right now. And I think he didn't back up a good, he traded Jake Allen for not much. And I think he didn't have a good goaltender. Their struggle on the defense, when mentioned, defense 4, 5, 6. They trade for Scandella for Montreal, not pay enough for good. Now we'll see what happening with Puchnevich. But again,
That'll
they
be
need
good.
to find a way to get a UFA defenseman. I think that would be better to get one this year around, maybe not Hamilton, Michael, but a second wave they can get. Now, on the flip side, you have a lot of defensemen, Michael's coming from next year, like Morgan Riley and other defensemen and for the UFA next year. But again, for this year, they're going to struggle on that flip over on the side.
He says, do you think that Weber will be an option for the next
not as a GM. You're going to have Shea Weber guys disappear on the map. That's the kind of player he is. So he is a type of person, Michael. When this is over, he's going to be retreat and BC. He's going to be with the family. He's going to work on strengthening he has. But I don't see him, Michael, to be a coach. I don't see him to be a head coach or a GM or that kind of person. I see him more at home at BC, if you do that, maybe part of the junior or some stuff like that. But I don't see him, and he's not going to play again in the NHL. I would be surprised if he's back.
Yeah. I think he obviously led them to the final, knowing that something was up. So
I see the way he's quiet, the way his behavior around the team and on the public side, right? It's not like Steve Eiserman or Joe Sakic, where they was captain, but he was more publicly talking and part of the. It's not what Shea Weber is. It's more reserved. So you don't know too much about his life. You don't know about his family. It's really not that kind of person. When he talk inside the locker room, it's right. He will give everything, but to carry on this as the management, if you tell that, I don't see that kind of personality he has to do this. I don't see that. To be honest with you.
No, I think you're probably. I mean, he's a guy who always stood up for his teammates, but I just don't know if that's the type of leader he is or not. But we'll find out.
I don't see him like a coach or anything like that. He could be a great coach for sure. An assistant coach, I think, would be really the right role for him, because an assistant coach, Michael, is not involved with public, everything like that. So a prototype like Luke Richardson, that's maybe Shea Weber could become one day if he want to get that route. But I'm not sure if that's what he wants to do.
I could see him in the WHL as a coach.
Well, that's my point. That's something like that I'm talking about. That's something he can join, something like that. They gave back everything. That'd be somewhere. But again, that's the kind of person who's going to be at BC. And I
think you're right.
That's what I believe he's going to do. He have his close friends around him, like Carey Price or those hockey players, everything like that. But don't have that kind of image over and talking a lot. And it's rare, Michael, you have an interview with Shea Weber.
That's true.
I mean, like he is on Montreal as a captain, but
that's true.
He's not show up a lot. It's nothing wrong with him. That's not who he is, right? And but again, his example of the behavior he does on the ice, that's what that kind of player he is, right?
Yep.
So
All right, Pierre, let's wrap it up soon. I don't know if we have much else to talk about.
We are the off season. So what happened right now for what's happening the next couple of weeks, Michael? You have a few things. First, the rookies camp start. San Jose did, Nashville did already, right? But I have other rookies coming, and then you have also the showcase. It's coming for its front team about that in September before the training camp, everything like that. You're going to have a couple of RFA. Now it's going to have the situation with Peterson, Hughes, Kokanemi, and that kind of player. Then you have also the situation with Kaprizov. What happened with him? The Jack Eichel is another way now to find out what is next for the two players right there. That will be very interesting about what happening for the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, I don't see anything else in NHL right now where it's everybody right now waiting for the upcoming season. But again, really right now, It's everybody right there for the players of different ways. Marc-Andre Fleury, guys, I don't know if you have it. Did you see his save? I know you cannot put
Yeah,
this.
I saw that. That was
You
cool.
cannot put this online because the copyright. But
Oh, really?
geez, it was unbelievable. The save he did on the Twitter account I saw this weekend was like amazing save with reverse glove, everything like that. But
It was
I think
crazy.
Chicago, Michael, with Fleury, that's what you're going to get for him. It's not about the age. He still perform alert, everything like that. I will be interesting about that. So that's what happened about in NHL around the league. Everybody back like on the here in Ice Den in Florida. A lot of players around the league. They are skating in the morning with private coach, and that's what happening. And then see what I don't see big trades coming right now this moment.
There's not. I mean, the Tarasenko thing needs to get resolved. The Eichel thing needs to get resolved. I don't feel like those things are going to happen fast.
Well, the things where everybody waiting is I don't know if Louis Lamoriello is on vacation around the world or he may be with Burroughs and Amazon fighting up, but everybody waiting. We don't know what Islander is going to play next year. Or be something, you know what I mean? Like that's crazy the situation over there.
I think he's got it going up somehow. There's some magic date in his mind, and I don't know what it is. Like he's going to pull the trigger on a few things, right? Like,
well, they are right now on the the top 3 team talking about Tarasenko is Islanders. I think the second thing for him, it's not about signing the players, it's to find a way to get his salary cap works. So he's maybe working behind the scenes to figure out about the money. And for him, it's not about it's Bouvillier and Sorokin. Sorokin is going to get a small piece of the puzzle of the pie. It's Bouvillier really where he can find a way to sign him below $4 million would be unbelievable. But I don't know about that one there. 1972, Game 8, Canada down by 2, and the third, Rod Gilbert goes out a fight. Misakov sparked Canada. We scored 2. It won the series. About that one there. Great moment. John Golden to bring back the story about Rod Gilbert. And again, remember, Michael, it was only 5'9", and maybe it's a really tall 5'9". It was more like a 5'8", to be honest with you, 180 pounds. As a great mention from you, Johnny Golden, bring back memories about Rod Gilbert. And, it was amazing about that. So we'll be interesting about what's coming for the Islanders. Like you said, right now, you're on that page, right? We know they already signed Zizikas, Palmieri, Zajac, and I missed one right now.
Wait, they haven't signed Zizikas yet, have they?
They are not. They are Parisian. They are not signed, but they are signed. So they're not meant announced, but they're all signed.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
All right, William. Have a good day, buddy.
All right. Thank you to everybody that's joined us.
Yep, we'll be there tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern time with the Power Play show, and we will be back tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock with another GM job we're going to talk about. And of course, like I said, hanging there 50 days before the opening up of the NHL. So really at the end of the August, Michael, but when the September Labor Day show up, after that, we pick up with back on the track, everything about what's coming in NHL. So it'll be interesting, but can't wait. What's happening?
Yeah, it's going to get busy soon enough. Like we've got training camp in the Everett Silvertips on September 2nd. So that's going to kick off a lot of stuff. The rookie camps are coming up for the NHL. So I'll check on the dates around here with Anaheim and LA.
And again, Michael, like, also the CHL's coming back, the OHL, QM, I think we have to stop at some point. Not really like maybe a resume of one every week, one thing about each league, about that part, and maybe, talking about 3+ junior or something we get to bring the morning during the show. Not every day, but the Monday morning, bring what happening during the weekend, not only in NHL, but on the prospect side around the world about junior. I think the people, it's getting more popular, Michael, the prospect area now, the fantasy part. I think the prospect is getting more and more open up now compared like 5-10 years ago, whereas what nobody was not really pay attention. The NHL, not the NHL, the draft at any sport major become more analyzed, is bigger every year on the live TV, everything like that. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much coverage, like junior, how much coverage these camps start getting, because there's no limitation technologically now, right? Like we should be able to do this. So
yeah, by the way, we welcome also speed recovery for Johnny Golden. Glad that Joseph's doing well and everybody else. And one thing, Michael, we didn't mention, but I think it's a news did not slide. By the way, the IIHF, is it IIFHF?
Yeah.
All right, they got the insurance for all the players going to go play for Olympics with the COVID. So this is a big major news, because now 99.9 we have Olympics next year.
Interesting.
Yeah, because that's the problem we got now with the team, right? So at that moment, I think now it's become great to see this about that one over there. I'm excited. I love to see this about that.
Yeah, I mean, the Olympics have been a real disappointment the last few years overall, whether it's winter or summer. It seems to be, and it's it's run by really interesting people. But I think having professional hockey players in the Winter Olympics would be a big deal.
Yeah, I think it's something about that, and it's good to see this. Me, I love to watching this, and it's like a little bit. So we are lucky next season, right? We have the World Junior at December and January, and then right away after that we have the Olympics. So another great year to follow hockey, and the Hockey National Show will step up to follow all the live everything about that. And one player, Michael, I want to mention to you is this part over there is Marco Rossi have a great weekend this weekend. So that's good to see him score, Michael, an amazing goal on the shootout. Was interesting to see that. And then when you talk about the big gun 3 now, they sign up and they are returned with the Michigan University next year. One player we don't talk about is Thomas Bardulo.
Yeah, they're stacked. I mean, they've got Bardulo, Johnson, Power. They've got
Bernier,
Benners. Yeah. There's one other guy there that's pretty interesting.
Yes.
Jesus, who's the other guy? He was another high draft pick, wasn't he? The Michigan State or University of Michigan? I always get it mixed up.
I'm sorry again. The Wolverine. Yeah. So yes, it's a Michigan Wolverine. The Michigan.
They're going to be pretty stacked. I kind of I don't think there's any. Oh, Brendan Bresson's there. So Pat, you've got another little bit older, 2001, right? Like signed by or drafted by Vegas. That's Pat's kid. So that's another real good player. Pashuov, who got picked up, he's by Anaheim, I think, right? So he's there. They're pretty stacked here. They're like
definitely.
Yeah.
Will be interesting to watching them next season for sure. So listen, this is a great show this morning. We are back like a Monday. We wish everybody an amazing, great week. This is the end of August. Be ready. We're going to get more and more news, and follow up on the YouTube channel. And also, don't forget to watching all the video we produce every day, and click on the likes, make your comments. We respond to each comment you put. And then, Michael, one thing we getting better and better. We got over 50, 60 votes per day. Is the question, the poll every morning on at 5:00 a.m. People participate more and more. And then the night, Michael, like you did last week, we introduced now a live QA 15-minute every night to the power play. We start this every night, and we have a couple of participation from Inner Tap or Bottom Monkey join us, Kaden join us last fall, and we did again Saturday night. Was great, nice to see this. So I think that's another area we develop more on the Hockey Nation show. I think the friendship quiz. Here's the #1 quiz on the YouTube channel.
I love it.
Here we go.
All right, Pierre, have a great day. Thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you later in the day.
Have an amazing, great day, everybody. And Michael DeVillano, keep the day.